Right. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you are. Greetings from wherever you are, and welcome to Afriq24 TV, and of course, this Africa Talk Show. I hope I'm audible and you can be able to hear me. Long time not seeing. I've not been seeing many of you for the longest time, but finally, the show is back. And the debate is on. So if you're joining us, kindly let us know where you're joining us from, the comment section, and you can also invite one or two friends so that they can also partake in this debate or this kind of discussion that you're going to have here. Of course, I'm donning the Kenyan jersey today. Our Harambee Stars are playing away in the next few minutes, like 8 minutes, the game is going to start. So I want to take this opportunity to start by wishing our Harambee Stars success in their game that they're going to have today. We all know that Harambee Stars is going to play away against Gambia in the World Cup qualifier. So we wish our team success in their game today. So back to the country, back to politics. What are we having today? Of course, you and I know what has happened today. We are having what is termed as the greatest reshuffle in the Kenyan public service. So the question we are asking today, are we seeing addition of experts or the addition of baggage? Why am I asking this? Join this conversation and I'll take you through what has happened today and how it is going to impact our political landscape. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Afriq24 Talk Show, where we delve into the latest happenings and trends shaping the Kenyan socio-political landscape. In today's episode, of course, we're going to focus on the recent reshuffles in the Kenyan public service positions, and kindly join us as we explore the implications, the potential impacts, and what this means to the future of governance and the future of Kenyan politics. I'm your moderator, Leo Nyabaya. So karibu sana, and if you also want to join this conversation, of course, I'll give you an opportunity to join me in the studio so that you can partake in this discussion. And you can also use the comment section and let us know where you're joining us from. If you've not subscribed to our channels, kindly go to YouTube, subscribe to Leo TV, and of course, you can also subscribe to Ntembei TV. We are coming to you live on our Facebook and YouTube channels. Before that, I just want to take you through, I want to make you understand the reshuffle that has taken place today. I know some are wondering, what is happening, what is not happening. We've seen a lot of things changing in our political landscape, something that began with the signing of the MOU, that is the Memorandum of Understanding between the ODM and the Azimio coalition leader Raila Amolo Odinga and the ruling party, that is UDA. And in the memorandum of understanding, they had some 10-point agenda, which included the implementation of the NADCO report. And we also saw some people who are members of some members of parliament and senate who are members of specific committees in the National Assembly and the Senate relinquishing their positions to accommodate these other guys who came from the Azimio side. And we've seen people like Kiharu MP Dindi Nyoro leaving the prestigious position where he was chairing, and he's been replaced by somebody, the member of parliament of Alego Songa, that is Samatandi. We've seen several changes taking place, and latest is what happened today, whereby the Kenyan government, through the Public Service Commission, had today undergone a significant reshuffle in the public service positions affecting various ministries and departments. So we can see this strategic move aims to enhance some efficiency, improve service delivery, and address the governance challenges, and also respond to the political challenges and the political developments that have been taking place of late. I'll try to break it down and the key reasons behind these changes. Of course, that is what we're going to look at in this episode. So, the key appointments in this segment, I'll give you some detailed analysis of the new appointments and the reassignments. Who are the new faces? Which ministries have seen the most significant changes? And our guest, of course, the expert guest that we're going to have today, will share some insights into the profiles and the backgrounds of some of the newly appointed public servants and bring to the table. Of course, I'll start with you'll see that what has happened. We've had the appointment of the former cabinet secretary of health, that is Susan Nahumicha, habitat in Nairobi. And we're going to look at that. Recently, when the president went for a funeral in Bungoma, was it in Bungoma? When Chebukati passed, Nahumicha really cried to the president, told the president, look, I used to be a cabinet secretary, and right now I cannot even be able to make some funeral contributions, like ile life imempiga kutoka juu kuteremka chini. So tumeona rais amemkumbuka leo. So is it strategical or it is that been brought in as an we're going to look at that, of course, that
Grace, sasa naniangalia mimi niseme nini na
you can that is the one who's been appointed as the Kenya's permanent representative to the UN Habitat. And remember, she's the former cabinet secretary of health. And she was dismissed when the broad-based arrangement came. And she's among the casualties. She's among the people who lost their prestigious positions to accommodate people who are allied to Raila Amolo Odinga. We've also seen this appointment is coming months after her removal, of course, from the office during last year's mass dismissal of the cabinet secretaries. You all know Nahumicha also lamented the difficulties of transitioning from her high office, and now he returns back to the government service in a diplomatic role, and she will be based in Nairobi. So we're going to look at this. Is this a political move or the move is a technical one? Or we've also seen one of the longest serving permanent secretary, the longest serving permanent secretary, of course, in the Department of Education, that is PS Belio Kipsang. He's been moved from the basic education to migration and the citizen services. I don't know why the president had to do this. We've seen multiple principal secretaries. We've also seen multiple principal secretaries being transferred. Guys, I'm sorry for that. Angela, karibu sana. I'm going to just add you just a short while. We've also seen some new faces, of course, that have been added there. We've seen somebody called Dr. Oluga, and you all know who Dr. Oluga is. And Dr. Oluga Frederick Homa has been appointed as the new Principal Secretary for the Medical Services. Most of you know him. They've been seeing him demonstrating on the streets when he was representing the Kenyan Medical and Practitioners and Dentist Union. He was the former KMPD official, Dr. Luga. He has now been appointed as the new Principal Secretary for Medical Services. Of course, President Ruto has also created new state departments that included introduced new fresh appointments and restructured government operations to align with his administrational agenda. Other appointments, of course, I'm also going to tell you some of the appointments that have been made, and I'll get an opportunity to take you down the profile of some of these people that have been appointed. Of course, you already know most of them. There is an appointment of somebody called Judith Nayai Pareno. You know Pareno. If I talk of the name Pareno, you know this is. I've been the chair of ODM Elections Board, the longest. So she's now going to be the Principal Secretary for Justice, Human Rights and Constitutional Affairs in the Office of the Attorney General and State Department of Justice. Remember, Office of the Attorney General is also being led by Madam Dorcas Udur, who is a lady. So now we're going to have two ladies in charge of our justice affairs. We've seen appointment of Caroline Wanjiru Karungu. He's going to be the Principal Secretary for East African Community and EAC Affairs. We've seen Regina Akot Obam, who's going to be the Principal Secretary for Trade under the Ministry of Investments and Trade, of course. We've seen Cyril Wagunda Odede. He's going to be the PS Public Investments and Asset Management. Jane Kare Mbunya is going to be the PS Public Service and Human Capital Development. Ahmed Abdisalam Ibrahim is going to be the PS National Government Coordination. That one is going to work in the same office with Dr. Rayo Molo. Michael Lensalon is going to be the PS Devolution. There's Fikirini Katoi Kahindi Jacobs, who is going to be the PS Youth Affairs. Karen Agengo Achieng is going to be the PS Shipping and Maritime Affairs. That one is going to work in the office of somebody, you know. So the reshuffle has also extended to Kenya's Foreign Service, of course. And we've seen somebody, Peter Tum, being appointed as a Kenyan ambassador to DRC Congo. Remember, his posting comes at a time when Kenya and the DRC have experienced some diplomatic tensions, and his role is expected to be instrumental in strengthening bilateral ties between Kenya and DRC. Remember when Raila wanted to become the AU chair, people believe that some of the things that led to the change where SADC finally decided not to vote for Kenya is how Kenya handled the DRC diplomatic issues, how Kenya handled the issue. So appointment of Peter Tum, seemed to be done strategically to ensure that these diplomatic roles are put into place. And we are also going to get an opportunity to see some of the implications of these reshuffles in the governance. So the reshuffles, remember, can lead to both opportunities and challenges. And the opportunities are, we've seen new people getting jobs. And what are the challenges? Of course, challenges must be there, both political, economical, you can name them. Allow me welcome all of you once again so that we can be able to participate in this conversation. Let me welcome Angela. Angela, I can see you there. Good evening. Angela. 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 All right, I think you can get yourself a better position so you can be able to join the conversation. Meanwhile, I'm saying that some of these reshuffles that have been made have got both negative and positive implications. I just want us to start by some of the appointments that have been done. Like we've seen the appointment of Dr. Frederick Ologa. This is not a new face. Angela, you can mute if maybe. I cannot be able to hear you well. Okay, I'll mute you, then I'll allow you to join later. Guys, you all know somebody, the former KMPDU official, that is Dr. Oluga Frederick Ouma. You've been appointed the new Principal Secretary for Medical Services, and most people would argue that this is one of the most transformative appointments that have been done by President Ruto, and it has been long overdue. And in the current government of William Ruto, the major challenge that affects Mwananchi directly is the health challenge. You've seen what has been happening in the health department, and there have been a lot of outcry and complaints, specifically when it comes to the health insurance. The song has been Shashe, Shishoshu, and such kind of things. We've been having the Social Health Authority, which replaced the National Insurance Fund, the NHIF that we used to have before. As many experts will argue that the SHA, the SHA that we're having currently, is an improvement of the NHIF. There are people who still believe that it is not working and things are not being in place. And I think this is something that has contributed to some of the changes that the president have made. If you look at the changes, they've not only been made at the cabinet level or at the ministry or the State Department level, but the changes have also been made in the parliament, or we can say that we've seen the changes being made in the National Assembly. And this one began when they replaced the committee, the health committee, and the health committee is currently going to be chaired by the same member of parliament, Dr. Nikal. And as you all know, Dr. Nikal is not only a politician, but he is a medic by profession. He's somebody who practiced medicine in the medical departments. He headed several departments, including the World Health Organization, being a representative, and he's believed to be an expert in the field of medical attention. This one seemed to be a boost to William Ruto's government. And now the permanent secretary, they've also put somebody who really played some critical role when it comes to health issues and medical issues in this country. Apart from being the union representative of the KMPDU, he also held positions in Nairobi. Of course, I think up to late he was one of the health directors. So Kenyans have given their opinions, and some believe that this is a positive move, and it is going to make some changes. So, Angela, I don't know what is your belief. Loga has been put there as the PS medical services, and in the National Assembly, we've also seen Dr. Nikal have been appointed as the chair of the health committee. Do you think these people are going to rectify some of the mistakes that have been done in the health department and restore hope for the very many Kenyans who've been complaining? Your background is noisy, so I don't know. Angela, your background is noisy. Right.
Wait, Mama Raymond, so you see me for your TV.
All right. As Angela is trying to organize herself, Dr. Luga Frederick Oma has been appointed as the new principal secretary for the medical services. It's no doubt that he is up to the task. He's not only no doubt. Angela, you can just mute a minute. It's no doubt that, of course, President Ruto's government has been criticized, of course, when it comes to this sector. And maybe if I can just be able to play for you some of the videos where criticism are being made, allow me to get you some of these videos, then I'll be able to proceed from there.
That I have not had any conversation directly or on phone with any leader of our coalition in regards to the position I used to hold. And I think if you look at it, it answers many things also, which I also don't want to go into. In terms of the relationship with other leaders, I respect everyone. I mean, I'm one of those people who believe there's no person who becomes a leader by just being fetched from wherever. There is always a process they go through. Because I am one, I know. And therefore, in terms of you've asked the relationship between the president and the former deputy president, the position I hold is that I respect every leader. And I could have things I need to talk about. I could have reservations on decisions made. But I don't think it has been within my role to talk about those things, especially in public. The other thing in that question is that maybe for clarity's sake, the last discussion I had with the president of the country, the last political discussion, either a chat or a discussion, as it were, was before October of last year. And I would not want, and you permit me to do that, not to discuss any further about any leader, because as you're all aware, I stopped serving in my position. It's barely a week. I also need to understand many things before I talk, because I believe as a leader, I mean, I lead people. There are people who look up to us as leaders. And therefore, even when you see that I am not answering some questions, it's not because I can't answer them. I believe you have covered me previously, and you know for sure that, respectively, in this world, I only fear God. So whatever I need to say, I have no reservation of saying. But also, we are given wisdom to say when to say, how to say it. And I believe we are here in Kenya. We'll keep interacting. If there is more to be said, if there is more to be clarified, we are allowed. Ronnie, he has been to Kiharu, by the way, to cover. Kaoja hii ni maji ya dimu kidogo ndio. Ndio mkiuliza swali kwa ikuwe sawa. Ronnie, you've been to Kiharu, and I am grateful. And by the way, I want to request anyone who would want to come to Kiharu to look at what we've been doing. We are more than glad to host you. We don't do these things, especially of hosting people, because we want to blow our own trumpet. We do these things because I am convinced that if leaders started competing on the basis of what they are doing, the country would become better wholesomely. If our competition as leaders is deliverables, and we compete about who is doing what in terms of tangibles and development, is a very good discussion that you'd have as MPs, for example, because we hold CDF, and that is the reason why we would be glad even to host you. We have hosted, I think, 4 delegations of my colleagues in Kiharu on benchmarking exercises. We actually don't call them benchmarking. We call them peer-to-peer learning, because I also learn from them. I am not a no.
And that is Kiharu, member of parliament, and you all know him. That is Kiharu MP and Ndindi Nyoro. So he's one of the casualties. I don't know if I'll be right to call him a casualty of some of the political developments that have been happening. We know that these developments, most of them started after what was known as the Gen Z demonstrations. And after the demonstrations, there was some kind of ceasefire. We saw some hands being shook, and from that we transitioned. Before we transitioned to some dismissal of the cabinet secretaries, of which today we saw the comeback of Nakumisha. Just few days after he lamented that it was hard for her to transition from high-end office now become a mwananchi wa kawaida, but it seemed that the cries of the lamentations reached the ear of the president, and the president did something, and she's now been appointed as a representative of Kenya to the UN. That is a permanent representative, and she'll be based in Nairobi. We've also seen experts or people who've not been in such positions, like Dr. Oma Oluga, being appointed to be part of the health department. That is, he's going to be the permanent secretary of the medical department, and of course that is congratulatory that we have to tell the president, because he is an expert, and we believe that he is going to try and solve the menace that have been there. Right now, some of the departments that citizens are having outcries, the Ministry of Health, and specifically people have issues with the social health insurance, the SHA, and the abolishment of the NHIF, and it's been politicized until right now Kenyans don't know which way to go. They don't know which one is the right information and which one is politics. And after the experts, the first experts, we saw Pio Watai, we saw John Badi, we saw Ali Hassan Joho, we saw Oparanya joining the cabinet or joining the executive as the cabinet secretaries. That one, what followed next is we saw some restructuring of the committees, and some of the committees that were held by the members of the ruling party, that is UDA members, like the one who just spoken there, Dindi Nyoro. The ones people believe that they were replaced simply because they've not shown some loyalty. Even in politics, they normally say that loyalty is awarded in installments, but disobedience is punished instantly. So we saw some of their positions being taken by people like Sam Atandi, who is now going to be in charge of the position that was previously held by Ndindi Nyoro. After that, we also saw people like Dr. Nikal being handed over the health chair, and this is a combination that brings or gives hope to Kenyans back there, having known the background of Nikal, who is a health practitioner. He is an expert in the area. But apart from that, today we saw a lot of appointments, and one that Kenyans have started talking of is the comeback of Nahumicha. Remember, Nahumicha was previously the cabinet secretary of health, and she is among the people who got dismissed last year after the Gen Z manenos. So, do you read politics in this, or it is the right decision? Is Ruto bringing the experts, or he is rewarding the loyal or people, he is rewarding people who stood with him, or is trying to play some politics? That is what I'm asking you. You can use the comment section there and let me know what is your take on the reshuffles that were done today. Do you think that is going to give hope? Do you think it's going to provide solution to the problems that we are currently facing, or it is just garbage in, garbage out? I don't know your opinion, but you can use the comment section there. Apart from that, you can also use the link that I've shared with the comment section to join the studio and be part of this conversation. Another shocker that has happened is the reshuffling or the reassignment of this gentleman over here. You all know him. Belio Kipsang has been the longest serving permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, and he's so far been moved to he's been moved from the basic education to immigration and citizen services. Remember, immigration and citizen services have also been having some issues. People have been having issues with the passport. People have been having issues with the e-citizen, and so on and so forth. So, is he going to bring some change there, or are they taking him away from the Ministry of Education? He's also having some concerns. We've had issues with the funding, the university's funding model, even though Kipsang have been in charge of the basic education. We've also had issue with the placement of students, and we also had issues with the CBC. And the most recent issue is the issue where people are saying that mathematics is now not going to be compulsory. I don't know your take on that. Of course, that has also happened. And we've also seen something today. Bitok has been transferred from the State Department for Citizen Services to the State Department for Basic Education. So, like, they've just swapped positions with the PS Belio Kipsang. So Kipsang have gone to his position, and it went to Kipsang's position. So we don't know what maybe might have influenced or made the president make this kind of decision. But I know people are giving their opinions out there, and Kenyans out there are trying to explain in detail each and everything that is happening. So, karibuni sana, and join me in this conversation. Of course, we're going to walk you through. We're going to try to explain to you some of the implications of the decisions, or maybe some of the reshuffles that were made today, the political implications. Is the president trying to secure or to lure some members of the previous opposition into the government so that they can be able to plan for some future coalitions for 2027 elections, or the president is trying to come in to solve the issues and the problems that are there in Kenya. So if you're joining me for the first time and you don't subscribe to our channel, kindly go to YouTube, look for Afriq24 TV, look for Leo TV, ensure you subscribe and share with your friends. You can also let me know where you're joining me from on the comment section there. Just type where you're joining me from and your views on some of the political developments that have been taking place in the country, including what has just happened today. I'll take you back to some of the speeches. The former deputy president has really been speaking. I've really been blaming the president at a lot of things.
Hiyo pesa ni ala. Huyo watu ndio alisimamia vijana wetu wa Gen Z, akasimamia wakauawa. Ako na damu ya watoto wa Gen Z. Alafu wamesanya pesa na magunia. Anaita wa Meru na kuwahonga na kudanganya nyinyi atimupeane priority. Ni uongo si uongo? Tena kama unataka kuongea na watu ya Meru, kuja Meru. Ita mkutano kama hii udanganya wa Meru. Alafu watakuonesha ni nini Meru na kuanga. Unajua tunataka watu waheshimu watu. Tuheshimiane. Let us respect each other. These Meru people have been taken for granted for too long. It must come to an end. Hii maneno kama sasa rais amepanga kufukuza Justice Martha Koome. And I want to tell you, my people of Meru, huyu rais tulimchagua, tulimpenda. Alikuja na Biblia, tukafikiria ni Mkristo, mtu mzuri. Alitudanganya, hakutudanganya. Tukamchagua. Kufika pale ametumia hiyo kiti kumaliza watu ya Mount Kenya. Ameanza na Rigathi Gachagua, amemfukuza. Akarudi akafukuza Metheka. Sasa amepanga jama ya kumfukuza Martha Koome. Na amepanga pale kotini anahonga watu kufukuza Martha Koome. Mimi nakuuliza Rais William Ruto, hii watu ya mlima walikupenda, walikupatia kura, uliwadanganya na Biblia. Umeamua kumaliza watoto wote kutoka mlima. Kiongozi yeyote ambaye hako na msimamo, umetupangia jama ya kutufukuza katika serikali katika Kenya. Na anataka akifukuza hii watu amalize biashara zote za watu ya mlima Kenya. Lakini mimi nakuambia rais, ukifukuza Martha Koome usikanyange hapa Meru. Mimi nataka nikuambie, ulifukuza Rigathi Gachagua, watu ya mlima wakanyamaza. Ukafikiria ni waoga. Tunakuambia rais, wewe panga jama, ufukuze Martha Koome, na wewe ukae Nairobi, usikanyange hapa Meru tena ukifukuza Martha.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I was playing that video, apart from the reshuffle that you've seen, there's also something that happened on Monday. Meru got their former deputy governor sworn in as the new governor. This is after the courts agreed with the Senate and they upheld the impeachment of Kawira Mwangaza. This is something that has always been politicized. There is some political metamorphosis that are taking place across the country. There are some things that are taking place within the western part of the country. You go to the Nyanza part of the country, you go to coast, you go to central, and the central, of course, we've seen recently Rigathi Gachagua is trying to introduce some new alignments and new coalitions, even to an extent of changing Gema. And Gema currently reads the Gikuyu, Meru, Aembu, Akamba, and something like that. So the Kambas have also been accommodated inside the Gema. And in that video, he was really threatening the president and saying that the president is now planning to send away Martha Koome, akimaliza alafu amalize biashara ya watu wa mlima. So that is politics anyway. We don't have some factuals, and most of the things that the deputy president have been saying, some of them cannot be like, there are things that cannot be proved beyond reasonable doubt, and there are a lot of vacuum and questions that people will really want the former deputy president to respond to. Questions like, what was he doing when these things were happening? The other day, you had the deputy president telling us that, the bombers of Kenya has been solved, Shamba ya Jela and such kind of stories. So these things are happening. There's some political happenings, and most people will try to read that they're just trying to shape and reorganize for 2027. And in politics, it is either you are a voting machine or you're being voted. So your items of trade, you're either a trader who is a politician, or you're the items of trade, the voters. So these things have been happening. Meru made change, and when the deputy governor was getting sworn in on Monday, we saw the former governors, that is Peter Munya and Professor Kiraitu Murungi, congratulating the Marians, the Amerians or whatever, something, yeah. And they were really happy, and people would read some politics that, okay, it could be that they're the ones that were behind the dismissal of Kawera Magaza, of course. You'll also get an opportunity to look into that and interact with that, because we're just going to look at the politics in wholesome. But even what has happened today, if you go by the numbers of maybe the people who've been appointed, most of them are politically allied to specific leaders in this country. Start with the appointment of Pareno. I've told you Pareno has been appointed, and she's going to be the permanent secretary in the office of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. And remember, this is a department that is under the office of the Attorney General. Don't forget that Attorney General is also a cabinet secretary and attends the cabinet meetings, because the role of the Attorney General is to advise the government. The office is currently held by a lady, that is Miss Udur, and female PS has also been appointed, and this PS was a member of ODM and has been the person who's been chairing the elections board in the ODM party, that is Judith Pareno. And most of us will view it as a political appreciation of goodwill to Raila Odinga, or an extension of the broad-based kind of government. On the same, we've seen Oluga, though people say these have been long overdue. He's been appointed in the Department of Medical, under the Ministry of Health, and a lot of new political faces, together with the return of our lady, that is Susan Nahumicha. They've been a lot of public reactions, of course. We also going to explore the public response to the reshuffle. What are Kenyans saying about these changes? Are they optimistic? People skeptical or indifferent? So we are going to delve in social media trends and gather some opinions. There are already people communicating on their social media accounts. The people on TikTok, there's some on X, and there's some also on Facebook, and most of them are trying to say, "Yata wafanye hivi." These guys are going. I'm glad that I'm also joined by Alexa. Alexa, karibu sana. I know it's been long. A lot has been happening, though we sometimes say it is too early to predict what is going to happen maybe in the next general election. But the more things change, the more they remain the same. We've been seeing these things happening before, and it seems the trend is not changing. Today, you saw the reshuffles that were made. There are new faces that were brought, experts, of course. When you talk of people like Dr. Omar Oluga, those are experts, no doubt, and every Kenyan know they're experts. But we've also seen political figures like Pareno. We've also seen the return of Nahumicha, who was dismissed. So what is your opinion on that? Do you think that the president is trying to solve the issues that are at hand, or the president is still on the political expedition whereby he's trying to fish some politicians to give him that legitimate image that he is with the Kenyans and the entire country is represented in his cabinet?
Good evening to you, Leo. Long time no see.
Good evening to you. Yeah, yes. I'm back, yeah.
Yes,
And we also wish Harambee Stars well today, yeah.
Yes. So for me, Leo, I think for the longest time, also me being part of the large number of Kenyans, we have been oversighting the government and calling them out for the things that are happening. But right now, I'm at a point where I'm saying, let him do what he has to do to try and make it right. If reshuffling the public service, if reshuffling the cabinet secretaries, if him turning everything, trying to turn everything around to make this country, let him do it, Leo. Because I think a month ago, President Ruto was speaking about the about Northeastern being left behind in terms of development, in terms of roads, in terms of, let's say, infrastructure in general. And if you checked in X, people were against it, and you see it's a development thing. So I say if he can build the roads in Northeastern, let him do. If Leo he can reshuffle the cabinet and everything, and he gets it right, let him do, because it's for the benefit of Kenyans. If he can try and revive the economy before 2027, let him do, because it will be for the benefit of Kenya. If you watched the Citizen News, Leo, 2 days ago, if you saw the cry from Kenyans, you'd say, anyway, the economy is very tough for many people. So me, I am behind him. If he can make everything right, let him do before 2027. If because I think we have spoken so much about the 2027 election every time, who is good, who is not good, who is good, who is not good. So I think 2027 is very far for now. Let us focus on the development projects. And after the Gen Z demos, President Ruto knows that his goose is cooked. So right now he has to do everything. He has to try and make developments in this country. He has to supersede other presidents like, let's say, Kibaki and Uhuru, if he stands a chance in 2027. So for me, if when it comes to developments in the country, Leo, I support 100%. Let him do it for the better of this country. So because people are suffering.
Sorry, Ogenga, let me ask you, if you
Yes.
look at the trend of what has been happening currently, are there specific areas that there have been some a public outcry? One of the areas has been in the health sector. It's really been a thorn in the president's flesh. Remember, this is a sector that has had complaints from the first day that he went to the office, because in the process of reorganizing the health sector, remember during campaign, the president promised that we're going to have universal health care. And they tried, of course, to come up with something that a sort of universal health care, the social health authority, SHA, which basically was to be a representation of a social health care that anybody can be able to afford. And this is something that it has been opposed. It has been frequently opposed by most Kenyans who believed that it was wrong to abandon NHIF and get to NSSF. And when Nakumicha, who was the cabinet secretary by then, was there, she really faced opposition. We had a lot of strikes. Then finally she got replaced. Today we've seen her coming back, though in a different department. But of late, we've seen the president making some changes in the department. He decided to appoint the former KMPDU official, Dr. Oluga Frederick Ouma, as the new principal secretary for medical services. And he's also gone a step ahead to replace the leadership in the National Assembly by replacing the former chair of health with somebody, Dr. Nikal. You know very well, Nikal is an expert in medical issues. He's a practitioner, of course. He held several positions, including the World Health Organization. He also been actively practicing up to date. So don't you think that the president is now listening to the people and is now concerned and is trying to make things right? Or should we still oppose this kind of changes that he made?
First of all, Leo, as I said before, after the Gen Z demonstrations, the president there knew that his goose is cooked. If he stand a chance of let's say winning the possession of the people, he has to do vast developments in the country. So as you've said, Leo, I think from right now the president is willing to turn this country upside down. Is willing to even look for the best brains outside the country to try and solve the issues in the country. And as you have said, Leo, in the healthcare sector, for me, the biggest issue that I had with SHA was the transition. I didn't think the transition was smooth. And Leo, there was also a little accountability to the money where people paid in NHIF. So now people shifted to SHA, and also the public doesn't have knowledge about SHA. So people are quick to say that there's corruption in SHA. If it's true or not, I don't have the facts on that. So, but I feel like so I don't think we can revert to NHIF. I think we just have to make SHA work. And even the president knows that SHA is not working. But if you ask me, Leo, I believe the president has what it takes to do well for this country. If he decides, if he wants to, Leo, Ruto can really do well in this country. And as per now, I think with the changes that are there, it's only time will tell. But what I can ask Kenyans is that let us be objective. When something good is done, Leo, we give the flowers. When something bad is done, we throw the stones. So I advocate for objectivity.
I get you. I get you. There's also another. I think. I don't know if you're seeing it positive. There've been an outcry in the Department of Education. Of course, there've been challenges, and majorly the challenges that we've been seeing when it comes to the funding model for the universities, and they've also issue with the current curriculum, that is the CBC. And I've seen Kenyans trying to make some jokes that now that math is not going to be compulsory and such kind of things. So today we've seen President made some changes whereby he simply replaced or maybe reassigned Belio Kipsang, who've been in the Department of the Basic Education, and he've been reassigned to the Department of Immigration and Citizen Services. And Bitok, who've been in that department, have been reassigned to go to the basic education. Don't you think this is a blunder that he made? Because the outcry have been basically on the higher learning institutions, but now Belio Kipsang have been moved from the basic education to immigration and citizen services. And those people who've been in this country for longest will tell you that Belio Kipsang is a man who stood the test of time. He served in that Ministry of Education the longest. And at some point when the president took power, we thought that he was going to be made the cabinet secretary, but that one did not happen. We saw, I can't remember the name of the first person, and
Machogu.
And now the I don't know.
Now it's Migos.
Yes, Migos or something like that. So do you think that the president has missed it in this department? Is still trying and making some errors?
You see, Leo, my perspective of this is I think as much as he's trying to, when they're forming this, the cabinet secretary, I think, Leo, if you ask me, you will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's based on somehow the tribe issue. So I think by him putting Machogu, it was something to show the people of Kisii that you have one of your own in power. It wasn't even an act of competence. And same thing after removing Machogu, you bring in Migosi to have a Kisii in the cabinet, so that they can feel like they are not left out. But I think, Leo, the best thing the president can do is to try and hire technocrats in each department. Let us move from this thing of the tribe issue, where some people are supposed to get some amount of cabinet secretaries should come from certain tribe, and then this part come from certain tribes. I think, Leo, the best person for the job the best person who should get the job. If, Leo, let's say, for example, you are good in economics, you take the finances of this country. For example, if me, I'm good in the sports, I get the sports docket. I think that's the way it should be, because every region in this country, Leo, I believe has a very good intellects who have the capability of solving the issue. So the issue with education, Leo, is that the people who are there are not competent. So they're just put there to show the people from certain tribe that you also have somebody in power. But I believe if we start putting people based on competence, then we will be surprised.
I'm getting you. In other words, you're trying to say that there's nothing wrong with tribalism or positive tribalism, putting people from different regions, but we put people with some commendable credentials. So for example, if you have to have a Kisi as a cabinet secretary to education, then you go for a Kisi who is equal to that task. Because as it stands, I'm not seeing anything changing from having people from tribal region or from regions being representatives of their tribes, or maybe in these positions, because this is what has been happening. And not only the president appointing them, we've seen people outcry themselves. The other day, you had some people saying that, you see, we don't want this party called ODM because when the positions were there, they did not appoint somebody from our community and such kind of things. And even if you look at today's appointment, I think the president also considered that tribal representations. So what do you think is now the problem? Is the problem the tribe or competency? Because I don't think in the entire community you can fail to find people who are maybe experts in these departments. So could we blame it on tribes, or we could blame it on politics? And at some point, they will also tell you that the president will not just come and appoint you because you're an expert. You must have got some political connection. You must have participated. Look at the people who've been appointed in the cabinet. Most of them were former aspirants. People like Nahumicha wanted to become governor. The person who is now in charge of education wanted to become governor. We saw people like Aisha Juma who wanted to become governor. So most of them having some political ambitions. So should we blame it on politics?
That's a very good question, Leo. And I at some point I feel like it's both, but and also some point I think there is the, what can I say? I can't call it blackmail, but I feel like I feel like you have to have some of the allies. Like, let's say, for example, let's take somebody like Aden Duale. Aden Duale is not put in that post because he's competent, or we can't say he's intellectual, because we can't say he has what it takes to be there. Let's just speak the truth. Aden Duale is there because let's say him and Ruto, there's something which sorry, it's not Boni Leo, it's something which they rip off each other. So and as you said, Leo, these positions mostly they are given to politicians, but I also believe, Leo, if I believe we can get technocrats in this country, and the technocrats are many everywhere. So I believe they can be found. And these positions should be given to them more rather than the politicians. But the thing is that in this country, those positions are mostly given to politicians. But a funny thing is they fail to deliver. Because if I can ask you, Leo, today, and we had this conversation with Bonnie, I think a week ago, which cabinet secretary do you think, Leo, has done well in the time that the Kenya Kwanza government has been in office?
Honestly speaking, as long as we might be having issues with the government, and maybe we cannot just say that there is nothing that is happening in the country. I know by doing that we'll be lying to ourselves. Of course, there's something that is taking place. It might be not at the pace that we would want it to, or it might not be happening as fast as possible. And again, some of these things are also because of the expectations that our Kenyans are having. You know, when the president was campaigning, he gave so many promises, and he raised the expectations, and Kenyans' expectations were really high. So when it comes to implementation, you find that people might not be able to feel what is happening based on the level of the expectations. But there are some people who are trying to do something. For example, I can honestly say that the cabinet secretary, maybe the treasury department, is really doing great. For the last 8 months, something has been done. We can be able to see it. For example, if I just go to our maybe exchange rate, our currency has really gained and has really stabilized. By the time John Buddy was getting in that place, some of us will go and maybe you want to exchange some money. You'll find that a day you wake up, Kenyan shilling is exchanging at 160 against the dollar. The next day it is 150. The next day it goes to 140. It really kept on fluctuating. But for the last 6 months, it has steadily stood at 127, 128. So that is some points of stability. Yesterday, I also listened to the cabinet secretary trying to explain some of the things they've achieved. Of course, the lending rates have been reduced to about 4%, if I did hear him well. Apart from that, they've also managed to pay some of the loans, even though we are not able to account for what these loans did, but this is something that happened in the previous regimes, so we cannot blame them for that. So I can say some of them are trying to do something that we can appreciate. Even the department that was led by Kindiki, yeah, the interior department, he really did well as far as things like the passports and such kind of thing were concerned. The banditry, we currently don't hear as much as banditry cases as we used to hear them. So the country is trying. We are progressing. Maybe the speed might not be what we expected, but at least we are progressing. I don't know what is your take on your end, but at least there's something that is happening despite the pressure that the government is having to do these things. I don't know, maybe what is your take, or maybe the people you engage with, what they tell you. And maybe I can also pose a question to you. Do you think that most Kenyans are really complaining because they don't get the right information? Because there's some ministries that I'm pretty sure are doing well, but the cabinet secretaries or the members in those departments, they don't have time to explain to Kenyans what is really happening. And if you listen to people like John Buddy, at least you will have a second thought that, oh, this thing is happening. So could we also blame it on the way the government is communicating their policies? So they've allowed that gap and things like internet to infiltrate so that people don't get the right information. The other day, I just played it here, you listen, the deputy president was telling us that bombers of Kenya has been solved, and there are people who bought that idea, kind of things. So can we blame it in communication that has enabled people to spread some false information?
You see, first Leo, the first time I heard that the bombers of Kenya has been sold, I laughed because for me, I saw it as a joke. I saw it as a joke from the impeached deputy president. And speaking sincerely, where is the evidence, Leo, for us to clarify and say that the bombers of Kenya has been sold? And you see, Leo, the bad thing, we live in a world where we go by facts. So if it's factual, bombers of Kenya is not yet sold. So for now, it's a hearsay. So he has to come and substantiate to the citizens that the bombers of Kenya has been sold. But apart from that, the thing you have said, Leo, it's true. There's a time also the deputy president Kindiki spoke about something. I think 2 months ago, he spoke about people from, let's say, outside the country in US. Like, let's say, for example, Mzalendo and Jeff are speaking about things in the country, and yet they themselves, they don't know. So, and Kindiki was saying that people from far away are here saying things are not working, and they themselves have not yet seen whether they're working or not. But for me, I will use one example. There's this guy who's famous on TikTok, naitwanga Katibu Mkuu wa Mazingira. People call him Geoffrey Mosiria. And for real, Leo, if he wasn't really capturing the clips and putting them on TikTok, Instagram, and the likes, then people would not know whether he was working. So angekuja tu hapo, let's say one day if he showed up in the media and spoke about the things that he is doing, people will not be able to know whether it's true or not true. But since he was removed from the healthcare, came to the environment, he has been showing us videos where they have been trying to clean the city. And Leo, today, if you go to CBD, Leo, you will see changes. Hawkers wamerudishwa, hiyo side ya nyuma. You will see CBD is clean, Leo. Even many times, ukitembea, you won't find the plastic tumblers. This is the chai. The city is trying to be clean. He has moved from one place to another in the city, removing illegal structures, trying to plant trees. I was in Bomas. I saw him removing the illegal structures and trying to find a way in which the people who are cooking by the roadside can move to a place where they can cook for people. Like, for example, the people in Bomas walikuwa relocated to Kangundo Road, where they can cook for people and the likes of that. So Leo, after the Gen Z demos, even the leader in the ODM Youth League, Kasmol, Kasmul says he advocates for 3 things. One of them is good governance, accountability, but also you be transparent. So I believe right now, Leo, ile Kenya yenye tuko, for people to know you are doing a great job, you have to account. So I will use the example of Mosiria. Mosiria has accounted, and I always go and check the comments, and people are saying he's doing a good job for him to continue. So all the credits are going to the governor Sakaja. So in all departments, Leo, I believe after working, you have to account to the people. That is the easiest way people will know you are doing a great job. And I also think, if you ask me, Leo, I can tell you are one of the best cabinet ministers we have is Kipchumba Murkomen. I believe, Leo, if I hear a lot of corruption cases from him, from the Adani deal and the likes. But for me, I believe if Kipchumba wants to work, Leo, he can deliver. If Kipchumba sets his mind to achieve something, he can do it, and he can do it really well. If he wants to finish there was a time was the CS for sports, he was pushing for stadiums to be built. So I believe if Kipchumba wants to work,
I'll agree with you. There's one thing that you say that is so important, that what is lacking is accountability. And it is not just an accountability. People should be able to see that there's accountability. Like what Musiria is doing, he's telling people that, you see, we are cleaning the city. So from that, people are already aware that something is happening. And in the case of Kipchumba Murkomen, he previously served as the cabinet of sports, and of course we can be able to see some of the things that he implemented actually. So maybe the only difference is that Kipchumba Murkomen, he doesn't advertise, or he doesn't show people that which he's doing. And even when he was taken to the current ministry that he is, I know most people would have thought that in the Ministry of Interior, you have to be somebody who is tough talking, like Matiang'i and such kind of things. And that's the only difference. Matiang'i is not that was tough talking. He was accountable. He will let people boldly know what he's doing. And people like Kipchumba, it will take you time. But if you're somebody who is keenly following, you'll be able to know that, oh, the level of banditry has reduced. The way he's responding to things are being done professionally. You've just said what he did within the shortest time that he was in the Ministry of Sport. That is the time that we even saw the issues that have been there with the is it the KFF and the elections were really, FKF and the elections were really sorted, and Kenya came back on its feet. So on that, I agree with you, and also the emphasis that there must be an accountability. But again, something happens here. Some people say that when you do something and you are too much on the media, they say that is not accountability. You are trying to hide behind the cameras, and people should be able to feel like people are saying during Kibaki, there was no portal to show Kenyans what was being done, but Kenyans will be able to see roads, Kenyans will be able to kind of thing, showing people what is happening, and a show of and maybe exaggerations.
Leo, I think your internet broke down. I didn't even get the question.
I'm saying, when do we draw the line between being accountable and informing people of what you're doing, and just a show and just trying to display things for the sake of display?
So responding to that question, Leo, a good example I use is Morara Kebaso. Morara has been around the country, Leo, showing us the ghost projects. He calls them vampire diaries. And from there on, people have known that there is nothing going on in the country. You see? So in that same way, and we live in an era where social media is rampant. So I believe that is the easiest way, Leo, for people to know what you are doing. And if you look at somebody like Jalango, every time, Leo, he finishes a project in Langata, the constituency that I'm in, he always posts it. The time he built roads in Langata, he posted it for the people to see. Whenever he gives bikes to the primary schools, he posts things. Whenever he does something with the water project, he posts things so that people can see, Leo, this is something that you are doing. But if you do and you keep quiet, people will not be able to know. So for me, I don't think it's showing up. I think that social media is the easiest way to account because everyone is there, Leo. Mama Mboga anaingia Facebook. Students wanaingia Facebook. Everywhere, whether you're boda, everything, everyone is on Facebook. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Even TikTok, you post something, it goes viral. So I believe social media is the easiest way politicians can account for the citizens to know. Like for example, if Ruto wants to do roads, whatever, and everything in the country, he has an account on TikTok, and he posts everything there so that people can say there are developments in the country. Because Leo, we are not in every part of the country. So if he goes and builds the roads, let's say in northeastern, and he posts for us, that's the easiest way I can know Ruto has done something significant, and I will give his flowers. As nimesema Leo, we have to be objective. Something good to pay flowers. If something is bad, Leo, turushe mawe.
I get you. I get you. Thank you so much. I can see my brother Govani has also joined us. And to the ones who are watching us, of course, we are live on Afriq24 Hour TV. We are live on Leo TV, both on Facebook and YouTube channels. So kindly let us know where you're joining us from. Welcome and thank you, Naomi Nashte. I can see you guys have joined us from the Facebook. And if you also want to be part of this conversation, of course, I'll be dropping the link on the comment section so you can use the link and join us in studio. So, Giovanni, karibu sana. It's a good evening and happy to see you after a long time. I know a lot has happened in the country and the political landscape. Things are moving so fast, and some people have already started predicting the 2027. Or even though we thought it is still too early to try think of the coalitions and maybe how the elections is going to be, but they say the more things change, the more they remain the same. So today we saw some cabinet reshuffles. Of course, we've seen some new faces of experts, and we've also seen the recycling of some politicians, or maybe the people who were there previously, like Susan Nahumicha. We've seen the reassignments being done. So, what is your take on that? Is the president trying to save the face and maybe stake, or they're trying to play some politics, buy time, and try to create some image for the 2027 general elections? So, what is your take on that, Karibu?
Okay, what I can say, I think it is too early for us to talk about 2027. What Ruto basically is doing is thinking more about his survival as of the present, but also his eyes also is in the 2027. But in as much as he is thinking of 2027, Ruto, in his mind also, he knows that he might not get there if he keep playing his cards wrongly. When he started by that assurance that he owns the reins, and he is the person that is mandated as of the president to be the president of Kenya. In his mind, he thought that he could do better. He is intelligent. Now he has come to a realization that in as much as he thinks of himself wise, himself intelligent, himself bright, himself knowledgeable, he has realized that all those things are not important. There are other aspects in life and in governance which are more important than even his intelligence. Now, that even in the lack of intelligence, sometimes in politics is important. So it's more about important things being non-important and non-important things being important. Politics, there are so many variables when it comes to politics. If you remember Kibaki was not endowed in terms of politics. He delivered. He was delivering. If you remember the very first things that he did in 100 days, we had an entire overhaul of what we call the Mishoki, the transport system. We had an overhaul of the judiciary. there's so much that was happening at the time of Kibaki, when at the first 100 days of Kibaki, but he forgot to do politics. So when he started doing politics, then his politics were not wanting. By the time he was exiting the government, he was the most unpopular president. Now later on, people came to realize how much Kibaki had done. So sometimes we might not know. We may come to know later that maybe Ruto, his manner of management might not be popular, but his output, his input vis-a-vis the output might be more apparent than Uhuru. Uhuru was not good in management, but he was good in politicking. His manner of politics, he was a popular president. Uhuru, even when he was going to Taita Taveta, he was a popular president. If Uhuru was going to Nyanza, he was a popular. Uhuru cut across everyone. The only place that he was not popular was his own background, his home turf. So what I can say about Ruto currently, what he's doing, he's trying to tangle a carrot and a stick at the same time. He is trying to balance his politics and governance. He is trying to balance his strength and his weaknesses. He is also trying to balance his presumed outlook, because there's what people know about Ruto, and there is also what people don't know about Ruto. So what I think I used to say this: if Ruto decided to work for Kenya, there is no president in the entire of our existence as a country that can be able to outperform Ruto. Because first and foremost, Ruto is a micromanager. If he decides to work, he can be able to micromanage everyone and every way. Now, that has positives, and at the same time, it has its negative. Now, if Ruto decides, and at the same time, Ruto is educated, he is knowledgeable, ni mtu anajituma, he is motivated, he is self-motivated. Now, if he decides to...
And of course, just to add on what you're saying, apart from being self-motivated, his age, I think, is the youngest compared to Kibaki and Moi and the rest.
Yes.
And that makes him
He
so
is
ambitious.
energetic. Yes, Ruto is energetic. If he can be, I used to tell people, if Ruto decides to work for Kenya, the only problem is if Ruto decides to work for himself. But if he decides to work for Kenya, if there is no president that can outperform, even Kibaki cannot be able to outperform Ruto. The only problem is the personality and the person who is Ruto. If God can be able to change the man, I don't know. I'm positive, and I'm looking forward to a brighter times. Now, the people that he has been able to bring on board, I won't say they're opportunist. I listened to Buddy yesterday, and how he came out. I used to watch a lot of Buddy. I am a great admirer of Buddy, and one thing I learned about Buddy yesterday, he has the grasp of what is happening, what has happened, and what is supposed to happen. If we have those kind of people, if Ruto can be able to tap upon those people who are self-driven, those people who mean well for the country, if only because Kenya, and by extent, the world, Kenya, I've been to you. I've been a supplier to multinationals, hotels, 5-star hotels, even 7-star hotels in Tanzania, and around us, the countries East and Central Africa, they pull resources, human resource, from Kenya. Kenya has one of the highest human resource database. And when you look even outside our continent, no, let's say not necessarily our continent, but within the East and Central Africa, if you go to the diaspora, the abroad, you go to UK, you go to Germany, you go to the US, Kenya produces talent in terms of human resource day in, day out. So if Ruto, the president, can be able to tap upon that kind of resource, that kind of data, that kind of, let me tell you something, he can be able to perform not only our former presidents, but he can be able to perform all majorly most of the African countries or presidents. That's my take.
I get you, and of course you said Ruto can do well if he decides to work for Kenyans, not work for
Yes.
himself. I just have one question to you. I mentioned how Kibaki worked. You've also given us a comparison of how the former president Uhuru Kenyatta worked. And somebody will say, if you look at Kibaki's government, we had the Michukis, and of course, wherever Michuki touched, his presence will be felt. He's the one who led the revolution that we're having in transportation. When people thought that we'll not be having vehicles with the seat belts and such kind of things, and he ensured that it happened. When he was taken to environment, we saw what happened, and also when he was in security, we saw how he finished the Mugiki and such kind of things. So in Kibaki's government, you'll point at a specific minister and say, this person is really doing something.
These
This
were
person is
performers.
really credible. But when it came to Uhuru's government, still, we had the Matiangis. You'll point and say, oh, Matiangis is here. Matiangi's presence can be felt when he led the digital migration. You can feel the presence of Matiangi in education, in internal security. You could also be able to point at Mutai Kagwe. Of course, Mutai Kagwe also worked under the government of Kibaki. I think is the one when we were now transforming to this mobile and things. When we were having our mobile connections, he was in the ICT before Uhuru now made him the cabinet in the Department of Health during the Corona and such kind of things. So, do you have such kind of cabinet or such kind of ministers in Ruto's government? And if you don't have them, who do we blame? Do we blame Ruto, or does it show that these people are having different leadership, maybe qualities whereby one would allow people to self-drive and show what they could do, and one is micromanaging his cabinet whereby nobody can be able to maybe be identified individually? Why is it that right now, if maybe you look at the cabinet that William Ruto started with at the beginning of his government, apart from I've heard you mentioning people like Badi, of course, I also did listen to him yesterday, and anybody listening to him will realize that he understands his role, and he explains the government policies well to an extent that you get convinced that really, kumbe, kuna kitu kimekuwa kikiendelea serikalini. Do we have such kind of people in this government?
Yeah. No, what I can say, it's not that we don't have, we do have. The problem is not that we don't have people who can be able to work. The problem we are having right now is the element of tribalism. And the tribalism we are talking about is not about me and you, Leo, or like myself and Mzalendo. We've grown together, and he is my friend. Kikiumana sana na muitanga na mwambia mzae niko chini nidunge kakitu, the same way na hivyo. But the problem basically, it does not necessarily come from the citizen. The tribalism card is not we the citizen. It is the selfishness of up there. So if Ruto can be able to come out of that entanglement, because I will call it an entanglement, that element of this is hii ni yetu sasa sisi wakale, ajaribu kutoka from that cocoon ya ukabila na sikubali mtu anaitwa Faruk ndiye anaongoza nchi yake, all the Sudis of this world, and aweze identify people who can be able to perform for him. But now that also goes down deep, and that calls for that holiness, and that there is what we call a calling. Does Ruto have a calling? Does he have a calling? You know, let me give you a good example of Baba. I used to admire Baba. Maybe I still do. One thing I keep telling people is Baba was one person who was born with a silver spoon, but he chose kutoka katika hiyo hali ya starehe, because I am 100% sure that Baba used to be chauffeur driven going to school, true or wrong, but he chose not the comfort of his bedroom, not the comfort of his own person, but he chose to come out of the comfort zone and fight for the people and fight for his people. Now, how many kind of people can we appropriate and apportion like Baba? There are not many. If we can be able to identify those kind of humans, people like Michuki, you called Michuki, you talked of Michuki. People like JM Karaoke, people like you remember Kagia? Yeah, people
like
who
Bildad Kagia,
yeah? People who are selfishly, people who are unselfish. Their drive, the reason why Baba has kept being relevant all those years is because his first calling, and we were talking about if Ruto can have a calling, and a calling, it's called a higher calling. Now, this is not a personal calling. This is not a calling that is driven to amass wealth, to amass wealth for his people, to amass wealth for his entourage, for his friends. But if he has a higher calling, that he can be able to transform the lives and the times of our country and our people, then let me tell you something. We are going to have one of the best. And you asked of whether he has people like Michuki. I can tell you, I believe that Ruto has even a deeper resource which he can be able to tap from than even Kibaki did or had. We are more learned, we are more exposed, we are more advanced than we were. We are more educated than we were back then. So there are people. He has people. The only problem is he able to accept that so and so can be able to do enough from his docket? Ama lazima a micromanage. Kibaki did not micromanage people. He macromanage. No, Kibaki did not macromanage people. He micromanaged them. So it's all about how much leeway you are going to give to the people that you have already decided that you should be able to lead ministries. Ama nikupatia and then anawawekea wakale chini wakuwa na waangalia. You understand what I'm saying? Then trust me, he is not going to go far. You know?
I get you. Alex, are you still there? Givan is telling us the difference that we have the difference that we have in the leadership of William Ruto and his predecessors, and is agreeing that of course we don't have a shortage of experts or a shortage of the cabinet secretaries who can work. Giving an example with John Badi, that these are people who, when given an opportunity and the space to show Kenyans what they can be able to do, then they can be equal to the task. So it might be that opportunity or that space has not been there. Like Ruto is trying to manage the political part and the management part of it. Like he's trying to balance, and in the process of balancing, he finds himself cannot be able to manage all of them because he's trying to become a good politician to please each and every person who contributed to his election, and also to attract as many people as possible for his future elections. And at the same time, he's also trying to work on his legacy as far as the development or delivery of the promises is concerned. So do you agree with Giovanni that Ruto can do well, but he needs to choose what he wants? He needs to choose whether he wants to play politics or he wants to leave a legacy as a president. Are you in agreement with that?
For me, Leo, the thing is, I think when the president was opting to vie for the seat in 2022, I don't think his ambition was to transform this country, because if it was Bonnie, sorry, I'm used to Bonnie hosting us. So Leo, if his ambition was to transform this country, then in the midterm, I call this, you see, the Kenya Kwanza has done an exam. Saizi wako midterm. So if his ambition was to do well, then saizi angekuwa amepita mtihani wa midterm yenye Wakenya walimpatia, ama kama si kupita, at least we could have seen some developments that the citizens would be well with. And one of the reasons why Kenyans are very bitter with this government is because they believed in it so much, Leo. In 2022, even Sifuna said it on Spice. Ruto was going around the country and he was advocating for the things which the citizens needed to hear about. Alituambia serikali ni ya boda boda, ni ya mama mboga, and that's what the people wanted to hear. If you saw how Ruto dismantled BBI, then you would say, Leo enyewe, this guy is really smart. You say, this guy is really an intellectual. And as Giovanni has said, Ruto akona PhD, ni mtu amesoma. He cannot miss to find people to do well. Like umesema Leo, we have the biggest two sectors we have in the country. Shida ni the healthcare and the education sector. I think those two ndio zimefail kabisa, and them failing is solely on the basis of incompetence by the cabinet secretaries. I believe Matiang'i is there, so the President Ruto can speak to Matiang'i, amuulize how was he able to transform the education sector, to do away with the exam malpractice? How was he able to ensure that learning was being conducted? Should find out more from Matiang'i, because the best thing, Leo, is the enhancement of the country, yani nchi kuendelea mbele. So in the health sector, we have many people who can do better rather than the ones who are there. So I believe if the president goes and gets the right people for these jobs, and then because he's the head of state, aseme tu, no incompetence, no corruption, everyone to do their job. You fail to do your job, you be fired. Then I believe the things will go well for him. Right now, I think we have a mongrel government. You'll correct me if I'm wrong. I think the government right now is mongrel. He has Baba on his side, so I believe they can now there are two of them in power. So I believe they should be able to craft something to be able to crack the economy of the country, irudi chini. But as for now, for me, I think there should be more accountability if they want to win the perception of the people. They have to account for a lot of things. Kama saizi, people say there's corruption in SHA, but I don't know. So they have to come out and clearly tell us, Leo, there is no corruption in SHA, and they account no money has been stolen in SHA, so that people can believe.
You're saying that, but I don't know if you're aware that there's this belief that, if people have lost hope maybe in the government to a point that everything that the government tries to explain, they dismiss it and say, no, it is not, it is a lie. And again, people have also been, should I say, programmed that even the positions that people get appointed based on maybe their tribes or their political affiliation, to an extent that even nobody will look at you as an expert. For example, when we saw people like Mbadi being appointed, nobody will look at Mbadi as an accountant, maybe until late when people are now seeing that, oh, this guy is an expert and such kind of things. But people will see him as the chairman of ODM. Today we've seen appointments. Of course, Giovanni, I'll need your opinion on this. We've seen Judith Nayai Pareno being appointed as the principal secretary for justice and human rights in the office of the Attorney General. We know very well Pareno has been a member of ODM, and actually she's been the one in charge of the ODM elections. We've seen Caroline Wanjiru Karungu, who's been appointed as principal secretary for East African Community, the EAC Affairs. We know very well Caroline Wanjiru Karungu was a member of Jubilee affiliated Raila Odinga, and up to latest, she's among the people who are spearheading Raila's AU campaign. You know the lady with Pauline Joroge. So Caroline Wanjiru Karungu have been appointed, and of course, it is being said that Raila proposed the name of Judith Pareno, Caroline Karungu, and he also proposed the name of this Dr. Oluga. So do you think Kenyans are going to see these people beyond their political affiliation and the person who appointed them, and try to check what did Caroline Karungu do, maybe as an expert, what can she do or where has she worked before? Don't you think that this predetermined perception is also hurting the country? Because once people have started viewing you in a political perspective, even everything you do good will not be seen.
Okay, one thing I can say, I have not looked deeply into his appointees, but one thing I can say about is for the future or for the current is that we should be able, it should always be able to be guided by the past. And when we look at the people who are able to perform in wakati wa Kibaki, there was a guy called Mwelaria, a very nondescript character, a timid kind of character, quiet, but he worked behind the scene and he worked perfectly. There was also a guy called Mudaura. Mudaura, you can say that he was always bedeviled by the tag of the tribe. But one thing you could be sure about is basically pole, nimekuwa distracted kidogo, nimeona Kenya wamefungwa bao ya pili.
Yeah, it's okay.
hata nitoke kwa sababu but it's okay. So the guys that did the work for Kibaki, Leo, were people who they were not just pruned from nowhere. They were not just picked from the black and white. These were people who were performers. These were people who had experience. Mudaura was a career ambassador. So basically, he was a person who understood what it was to be a performer. People like Michuki, he was a career accountant. I think at one time he was also a finance minister. Was it?
Yes.
Yes. So, and then we had people like Oparanya. Oparanya worked hand in hand. There was a guy in finance. He was called Mwiraria. A very nondescript guy, a very unconspicuous kind of a character. You couldn't hear him. The only thing you could see was purpose. There was movement. Now, you can't just pick people from because they were just activists. People like Njoroge. She is called who? Njoroge? Pauline. Pauline was appointed today.
No. Pauline hasn't been appointed. They appointed Karungu. You know, the lady. They used to
Now,
work together. I
Karogo,
was just telling you.
yes, Karogo, first and foremost,
Caroline.
yes, she was, I think she was the deputy governor of Nyeri at what time ya Mutahi.
Yeah, she was the deputy governor of Nyeri time ya Mutahi.
No,
Yeah, that is true.
not wakati wa Mutahi, wakati I think wa the present governor. And then she fell out with the present governor. So one thing I can say is I can't we can't say per se that these guys are not going to perform. However, I think there are people in the market who can be able to perform, and they have been tested that they can be able to perform way much better, you know, than those people who have already been appointed. However, again, Ruto does not have what we call the privilege or the advantages or the prejudice of his position. That position is being given by one and only Raila Amolo Odinga. So whatever he does, not only from Odinga's side, but also from other quarters that he has been able to pull support from, he has to. They usually say, "He who pays the piper he who pays the piper calls the tune." So the person who is calling the tune right now is Baba. We were analyzing this situation with a friend of mine, and we are analyzing the current position of the National Assembly, and we could see it is divided in almost 3 parts. Kalonzo takes a very minute, so we are not going to call Kalonzo into order. So we are going to say Wamunyoro controls a big chunk because of the Kikuyu movement. Baba controls the other chunk, and Ruto controls the other. So if Baba decides today that he's not going to support Ruto, Ruto can be impeached like tomorrow. You understand what I'm saying?
I get you.
Yeah. However, you can still not rule out the probability of that. We can give those appointees the benefit of doubt. Maybe, and probably maybe. Maybe they are going to perform. Maybe yes, maybe no. But there are people we can identify like 5 good performers within our society, people who have been able to perform and they have been tested, and we can say this guy is a performer. This guy is a performer. I don't know why Baba should go out and appoint greenhorns. What do you think?
I get you. We have so many people who can perform, and I think that is what should be guiding this kind of appointments. Because if we can be able to do that, then it means you're going to get it right. And the biggest problem is when we appoint to reward maybe people for their participation in elections and such kind of things is when we get it wrong, because most people faulted the first cabinet that the president had, where we had people like the former Meru senator, people like Mentura. We had people like Susan Nahomecha, even though she'd been given reassigned some duties as a representative, Kenyan representative to UN. People faulted the president that, okay, you had people who are clueless. You had people who did not know what they are supposed to do. But just as you said before, the president, in his mind, he was trying to manage the political side, whereby he was trying to prove to people that, look, I'm not a betrayer. If I promised you something, I'll have to fulfill the promise. I think that is what will go down in history as something that worked against Ruto. Not that he's somebody who cannot work, or not that he's somebody who cannot be able to perform, or who doesn't have the people's maybe good in his heart, but the problem is he is trying to balance the politics. And when you balance politics, at the end of the day, you are the one who is going to lose. And that is the difference that is there between Kibaki and Ruto. As you said, Kibaki did not manage the political part of it. And that is why I was trying to ask somebody, why is it that Kibaki, who was elected with the highest percentage? I don't think anybody has been elected, apart from maybe during independence, I'm not sure, but since the elections after independence, no president have been elected with the votes that Kibaki got, over 60%, actually. And
He
when
had
it reached
67,
2007, he was
67%.
he is the lowest, yeah, the country. 67%. But towards the re-election, he was the most hated candidate. So somebody will simply give you an answer that he was hated because he did not manage the political side. But when it comes to performing the role that he was elected to do, he really did well. That's why people still remember him up to date. I think that is the difference that we're having. So the president has seen it. Do you think that maybe in the next maybe 1 year, the president will now change and now start doing things and regain that trust? Because at some point, people started saying that, you see, the president is the most hated public officer in the country. Do you think he's going to maybe get some comeback and try to do things differently and win that trust towards 2027?
Can I go first, Leo?
You can go first, no problem.
Okay, so for that, Leo, as the show started, I said I was advocating for objectivity, and as of now, as it stands, Ruto has lost some significant supporters. First of all, because the before even the Gen Z demos, there was little or no developments in the country. Then after the Gen Z demos, I think the president has clashed with a lot of people, considering that the youth of this country make up a very large number. He has clashed with them, and let's say he has also lost the mountain, which was a big block which contributed to him being in power. So, and part of him losing the the trust of those people, if it's if I'm giving my perspective, is no matter how good or no matter what he does, even if he develops many things in this country, I still believe those people will be vouching for him to be out of power no matter what he does. Leo, hata leo aende ajenge barabara zote Central, ajenge hospitali, aimarishe kila kitu, I still believe he won't be able to get those people to believe in him. Same for the youth of this country and many parts, but I believe the voting blocks of Raila, if he does significant things, he will win over them, because unajua sometimes Raila has supporters who, let me say, he has diehard supporters wenye wanafuata venye anasema. So if Baba advocates for Ruto, then his people wote, they will follow Ruto. But I believe the parts where Ruto has lost his supporters, no matter what good thing he does, I don't think they will be able to give him a chance. Hata afanye nini, I believe for them it's a no and strict no.
Nani, maybe as you just pick it from where he left, do we have a force that maybe can be able to push Ruto out of power? You know, in Kenya, we've always had people have been talking about these things called the dynasty. We've always have our politics being determined by the Odingas, the Boys, and the Kenyatas. Apart from the tribes that you're having,
Okay.
where they've been always been saying that the major tribes are the Kikuyus, the Kalenjins, and the Luos will always determine who goes to the opposition and who forms the government. Do you think we have the force? People talk of Gen Z. Is Gen Z a force enough that can threaten the political class that we have currently?
Before I answer that question, Leo, let me support what
Yes.
Alex said. I think that what Ruto, the kind of problems Ruto has today are self-inflicted. He he didn't necessarily need to do what he did. He had everything. He had everything. The only thing he could have done is to do better than what he already had. It's like today, Leo, you have like you have a shamba, and then within the shamba you have, or maybe you have inherited from your father a shamba. Then the father had already done a lot of irrigation from your place, irrigation from that for your shamba. He had done basically everything. Then he passes on, unfortunately, God forbid. Then you're being left with everything. The only thing that you can do, and then there is enough money in the bank for you to work better than what your father already had done. Secondly, you are young. Your father was a bit old. You are energetic. You're motivated. You are educated. You're exposed, and you had time. Now and then you have already now been left with resources. That is what Ruto was given as a platform. I won't talk about the country, because the country, let's say, like, let's assume, like, in terms of economics, Uhuru had done him a bit of disfavor. But let's talk about in terms of popularity. Ruto entered the country when he already had over 50% of Kenyans supporting him. So the only thing that he needed to do is to pull the other 50% on his side. Let's say he was not able to do 50, but he can be able to do at base 20 and to add on from what he already had. So the kind of problems that Ruto has are self-inflicted. The kind of policies that he came he came with, tumefunga bao ingine safi sana. Najua pia wacha niwaambie, najua mwangalii ball. Sasa tuko tulikuwa tayari 2-0. Sasa hata niko na morali ya kuchangia. Wacha hata nikae vizuri sasa.
Morali iko sasa.
Morali sasa iko. Hiyo bao, by the way, tulifungwa bao moja safi sana. Lakini pia kuna jamaa hapa namba 7, tutajua ni nani. Amefunga bao safi sana. Kenya tuna talent. Beautiful. So, what I can say, I can support Alex what he said. There is nothing that Ruto can be able to do within the central.
Gevani. Wewe mwenye amefunga bao ya kwanza hiyo imefungwa na Michael Olunga, alafu huyu anaitwa Mohamed Babajer mwenye ame equalize hiyo side ya pili.
Huyu ndio the leader. Si huyu ndio anachezea sijui Nairobi Police. Is good.
Huyo sasa Babajer, Mohamed Babajer, he's a good boy.
Na ameingia tu saidi. So they can only do better. Now, what, as I can support Alex what he said, there's nothing Ruto can be able to do within the Central Republic, or let's say Mount Kenya, for him to be able to retain back or to recoup back what he had already lost. That is one. Two, even within Nyanza, in as much as that he is trying to woo them, they are also wary of the man, because if this man was supported by the Kikuyus, and by extent and by history, Kikuyus have never supported any other person apart from their own, true or wrong. And then they come up and they support the man to almost to the last man. And then he disappoints them and he goes off and woos the adversary. Now, even to the majority of the other Kenyans who did not support Ruto, they are always worried that this man, hata tukamsaidia aje, he is going to do us the Kikuyu thing he did. So they are also trading, but they are saying, because we don't have, let's kwanza tukule, let's eat, and then we'll think about 2027 when it does happen. You understand? Now, that's the second point. The third point, I don't know, because every time Ruto is doing something, he's always back timing. He should be going forward, but and I want, in all my contributions, I'm always bringing God into place, because there's something about God. He says that I am God. My glory will I not give to a graven image, or my honor to an idol. So one thing about God, when Ruto took power, he thought that it is himself who had already taken power. Alichukua glory akachukua ni yake. So me, what I think, what is happening and has been happening, it's God basically akiachilia Ruto na akimwacha. So Ruto, first and foremost, he has to go back to God. He has to be right with God. And if you remember the preacher called Lai he used to be those preachers we call not popularity. Wapesa wanaitangwa aje? Those who preach prosperity gospel.
We call
Then
them
the
prosperity gospel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but he had a time that he had to come into terms with what he was preaching and what was right. And God, by adventure, returned the glory of Lai, and Lai was able to talk and tell the president to his face that what his regiment and his government is corrupt. Not many preachers have been able to do that. Not in Kenya, not in America, not anywhere. So one thing I can say is Ruto has to come back and talk to God. Ruto has to come back and talk to God and become one with God. The message basically has to align with what God intends for him. Now, I don't see, maybe because I cannot speak on behalf of God, but I am not seeing that happening soon. Maybe it might happen, but lazima God atuonee huruma as a nation, because we lose if the president is not with God. If God is not for us, we are losing as a nation. But if God can be for us, we are going to prosper in terms of many things. He is able to be given godly wisdom, where, as we were speaking and saying, you are able to appoint people of repute, people of good governance, people who are exposed, people who are intelligent, you know, and hiyo imekataa bwana. Leo bana, hiyo ilikuwa bao na imeenda. So I don't know. I'm hopeful, like all Kenyans. I don't think there's anything that Baba is going to add to Ruto. I am 100% on that. The only thing that Ruto, if you read Machiavelli, there's something that Machiavelli speaks about. He says that whenever you postpone a fight, whenever you postpone a war, you are merely postponing your own defeat. So within time, Ruto is going to fail. Whether it is going to take 5 years, whether it is going to take 10 years, whichever way, whichever time, it is just being, the timing is just the difference. But failing, he will. The only difference is if God be for us. And we are a prayerful nation. Maybe because Ruto is not good. He is not genuine. The president is not genuine. Is basically not genuine. Because if you are genuine, first and foremost, irrespective of even if Gachagua was a bad person, was cantankerous, was evil, was everything bad, he could have taken time. Because you cannot tell me, Leo, that you've worked with a person for 5 years, mumefanya campaign, mumekimbia up and down, and then you come and choose that person instead of the other person you come and choose later, and then after 1 year you decide that person is not okay, is not right. You have to take care of that person and dismiss that person. And you campaigned with that person for 10 years because it was 10. Hello? Am I making sense?
You're making sense. It's from 10 years,
Yeah,
10
and then,
good years. Just
yes,
together.
it was 10 years. and then you just decide out of the blue that it is not enough. That person, after you have taken power, you come and you start saying that he is corrupt, he is bad, he is ABCD, he is not okay. We agree. But why did they take you 10 years? Huh? Leo, how did they take you 10 years to realize that?
To realize that he is not somebody
That
you
is
need
tribal. Why were you using him while he was tribal, but now for your own benefit? So what I can say, the problem is not Ruto. Tumefungwa ya tatu. We cannot hear and keep seeing this. So
Continue.
it's happening, man. There's no off there. That's a good goal. We have been hit on the counter. So what I can say is that for Ruto to change, it will only call God. It can only call God. But me, I usually say that we were given Ruto because of the kind of a people we are as a nation. Because we are tribal, we are selfish, we keep fighting, we are everything bad. You know? Let's listen to Alex what he thinks.
So, what was the question?
It was just building on what you said, that there's nothing that Ruto can do now that will return Central, like Emenda. But I asked a question. Okay, Central has gone. Now, I've heard people talking of the Gen Zs. Is Gen Z going to be a force enough to maybe push the political class in 2027 general election, or we are still far away from reaching that point? Or we are still at a point whereby, okay, majority will not like Ruto, but he will still play his game, bring people here and there, and still make it.
So, if you had to ask me, Leo, based on my own analysis and research, I have seen the Gen Z movement, even the demonstrations that mostly they're happening in urban areas. So, I can say if we are to check the let me call it the demographic of the country, you see that the youth make up the large percentage of this country. So, and as years goes by 2027, most of the youth will have identity cards, so they will have the validity to vote in the elections. So, as I've said, the Gen Z movement, it's not something like the tribe, or like, let's say we say the way Giovanni has said that the Kikuyu choose somebody and then they support that person. So I believe there are cracks to these Gen Zs. Kuna Gen Zs, maybe let's say from Nyeri, who will support maybe, for example, Mata, or if Rigathi. Then there are Gen Zs maybe from Kisumu, who will support, let's say, for example, Raila Odinga. And then you find that there is this movement which happened in urban areas, because if we say that if we classify all the Gen Zs, they're the youths there when wako huko ushago, they don't even know that there is X, hawajui maandamano ilipangwa X, and so on. And you find people like those are the ones who are going to vote for the tribal kingpins. And then there are people who, let me call them a bit woke, let me call them a bit let me say, sijui niite aje, let me call it, for lack of a better word, modernized in a way. So I believe that is the movement. And if it's the movement is will it shake the political class? It will. I believe it will shake, because as I was watching a news, and it was showing that in 2027 over 14 million youths will be able to vote in the election. So, and we saw the president alishinda kura na I think 7 million. So 14 million people, if 8 of them turn up to vote against, let's say for example, President Ruto, then I believe those 8 million are enough to knock him out of power. So the political class has to beware of that movement.
Political class have to be aware of the movement, and of course, what I'm trying to say is that our politics will change from maybe what we've been traditionally having as our identity to age. Because okay, it's a fact that the youths are the majority in this country, but what we've always seen is that the youths are always used when it comes to voting. Like the youths have never influenced any election. Instead, they're always being used because I think Kenya is having one of the most expensive elections that we have in Africa. I don't think there's a country whose election is as expensive as what we have in Kenya. And majority of the youth that we have in Kenya, this one is not changing today, are still unemployed, meaning they don't have something. And with the commercialization of our elections, whereby even today, Alex or Giovanni, you say you want to become a member of county assembly or a president, even if you tell your close friends, the first question they are going to ask you, uko na pesa ya kutosha? That's a fact. That is the only thing that they'll ask you. Uko na pesa? You want to have a political rally, and they use some nice terms today. They say there's something called mobilization. So mobilization is not taking a microphone and telling people I'll be having a meeting tomorrow at 10. Mobilization is meeting these individuals and giving them something in terms of monetary value. So that is the question that I still ask myself. Okay, we can go the direction of age and say youth are the majority. But again, the youths, do they have the commercial power to seize power from the already established political individuals? Specifically, we are having the political parties. When we finally introduced what is called independent candidates, you saw we can't even have a 5% of members who are independent. People will vie in these political parties, for example, in Nyanza, and if you lose the ODM nomination, you know that is the end. In Central, maybe you will vie in Jubilee or something like that. If you lose, you know that is the end. And you come and cry that you see these political parties are not giving us opportunity, mimi niko na watu. But the fact is, you had an opportunity of contesting as an independent if you really had watu and they will vote you. So what normally happens, are you really sure that youths have got the power to seize, to go and seize the political power, or still they are youths, but they're still going to be used, they're still going to be hired? It's like you're saying, okay, youths are majority, hatuwezi anzisha kampuni, hatuna pesa. Politics is like a company. Giovanni, what is your take on that? What does it need? What do youths need for them to be able to match the energy that the already established political parties have?
Okay, one thing I can say about the youth, the youth is a nation by itself, but I would say it's also divided into two. There is the urban, and there is the local, yes, the local, and I can assure you that within the local is still tribal, because these are vijana, they are not yet exposed. And when I say the local, I'm not necessarily diminishing the essence of being in terms of geographics, because in terms of geographics, we may talk about, there is a youth in Nyeri, but he is exposed. He has his gadget. He is amesoma. I know most of you have already been able to interact with youth either from Kisumu, whether ni Rongo, whether in Kikuyu land, whether in Nairobi. Because even in Nairobi, you'll find their youth, but also in their kind of mentality, it is still the tribal mentality. So I'll just categorize them between the tribal, those that still has the tribal mentality, and those that has the Gen Z mentality. The Gen Z mentality is a bit different. It's a nation by itself. Winning those kids is not going to be easy. It's not going to be a walk in the park. The ones that are still tribal, the ones that are still do have the local mentality, the tribal mentality, that they are always looking from the point of view of their own leaders, whether is a Luo, whether it's a Luo, whether it's a Kikuyu. There's nothing you're going to change. They're always going to listen either to Amonyoro or to Raila Odinga, whether either it is Kalonzo. But the Gen Z, the exposed Gen Z, the TikTok Gen Zs, trust me, those are very winnable. Their very existence, they don't even understand themselves. There are people by themselves. They are different from their own perspective, and the only way you can be able to change and win those kids, it's only being able to be and to live in their shoes, and which is the most difficult thing. You have to appeal to their needs, and their needs I don't know. Tumemiss bao hapo, umeona eh? Yeah. But wamecheza. They were just unlucky. So they were just unlucky. I think they were unlucky. I think Arambe, they played a good game. They did play a good game. What they did is they defended poorly because they dominated the entire game. Am I right or wrong?
No, you're right. They dominated the entire game but defended poorly. But there's always another day. We're also playing away. We can say they really tried. So we still have
I
some
don't know.
things to get better. Yeah?
I don't know. I don't know what we are going to do with our way mentality, and our defenders. We don't have a system. We are not known for defending. I think for us to be able to have a good team, first we have to be a Mourinho team. Aya, tumefunga. We have been undone by undone, and I know for Ben McCarthy it was a bad game. He lacked. He was not able to work well. Unfortunately, there was a handball, but there is no VAR.
I think that was we done the best. Moving forward. We need to work on our. We need to work on our away mentality. Mwenye amefunga huyo ni William Wilson. Huyo ni William Wilson.
Oh, he is not local.
Yeah.
He plays for which team?
I'll check, but he doesn't play for the KPL. He plays away. Yeah. That was good.
Olunga alitoka, eh? I think our problem, because there was no proper movement at the front earlier on. Our main problem, I think, we had just one way, and we have been playing long balls to Olunga all the time. We lack this 1-on-2. There is no proper provision. We don't have a creative midfielder. Benny has to come up with he has to identify a creative midfield. He has to, because I've realized we have very good strikers. That Bujaber is called Bajaber.
But the bear is good. So we just need to work on creative midfielders. Then all will be well. I think that is where
Yes,
Ben
yes,
Kathy has to work on coming back
A-
home.
and the,
We have strikers,
yes,
but the
and
problem is
we are yeah, we are lacking we are lacking a proper number 5. We are lacking someone like Caicedo. He has to come up with someone who can be able to stand. Akumu is playing or is not playing.
he wasn't in the squad. But I think Akumu will always play that position very well. I don't know why he's not been positioned or
Yeah,
late, but he
we are
will.
lacking a proper. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
there's a
that he
time he
can
will
be able
play
to
that position
cover.
well. Yeah.
So that he can be able to cover the defense. We are lacking because when you look at the goals, tumefungwa isipokuwa bao ya kwanza ilikuwa classic. That was a classic. That even for a defender, for a striker, there is nothing they could have done. You know. So let's go back to Gen Zs. The
Maybe
Gen
as
Zs,
wide up.
yeah. The Gen Zs, as I said, because I've been able to interact with a couple in particular. I live in Nairobi, so I've been able to interact with a couple within the precinct of Nairobi. I've been able. I also do a lot of trips up country. I've been able to do some interaction with some at the county level, up country level. And I realized that even within the county, there are Gen Zs who set themselves apart from the others. Kuna wale ambao they are local. And when I mean local, you understand what my context of local, because they have still that mentality. They are not yet exposed. They are also not educated. The mentality and the voting pattern from such will always align themselves with the mentality of the leaders, the present day leaders. But now when you come to Nairobi, also, let's say in a country, it's the percentage, the Gen Z's percentage, the exposed versus the local. It's the local might take like around 45, the exposed might take around 65 or 55. Then when you come to Nairobi, it is around almost 75. Yes, let's give it like 75%. Then you give 25. There is 25% that they will not walk the path of the Gen Zs, the TikTok Gen Zs. And then there is the 75 who basically will follow their own trend. Now the problem, yes, we have that bulk of Gen Zs who are self-independent. They're independent by their own right. Now winning them might be a problem because satisfying that electro sector, I don't think it is going to be easy, my brother. Or what do you think? What
I
should you
agree
do
with you.
to Yeah,
I agree with you.
what would you do to win them?
I agree with you. Winning them will not be easy because the
It will
main
not.
point is that we've commercialized our politics to an extent that however much you try to do the civic education, somebody will still ask you. Our politics changed from maybe the content of our politics is based on our stomach. What are you giving me? That is why when you're talking to youths, even today, you assemble some youths, they will want, before they listen to you, they will want something tangible from you as far as finance is concerned. And most of the
Yes.
people who have this money, they are the ones who want to maintain the status quo. So that is the challenge that we have. And I think that is the advantage that even people like Ruto has taken, and they know however much you try to jump and run, at the end of the day, I don't need to talk to you directly. I need the specific individuals to buy them. Then through them, I'll already have you because specific agencies belongs to specific political figures. Like Alex was just talking of those people who are loyal to Raila. Even Raila has got control of some Gen Zs. The MPs who are elected in these political parties, they're also having their fellow Gen Zs. So we still have a long way to go. So the only thing that can have this change is when we have some economic empowerment that will put some money on the pockets of these people so that they don't depend on giveaways and such kind of things. And currently, let nobody cheat you that they can make independent decisions. The decisions will always be based on how much are you giving them, yeah? Like they
Yes.
are voters for hire and something like that. So, Given, I just want to appreciate and thank you for showing up for this show. It was really informative and insightful. Let us do the same tomorrow, same time, same place. So maybe your parting shot as we also congratulate Arambe Stars for their away draw and hope that moving forward we're going to change our away mentality so that we can comfortably win away.
Yeah, yeah. I think we have a good team. I think we have talent in that goes without saying about congratulations. They are actually in order. What we are lacking in Harambee Stars is just discipline. That has always been our own undoing. I'm an added follower of our country's team, and even when you look at those mabaos which you've missed and those that we've given away, one thing you can be sure about is that they're just a terrible giveaways, from the penalty to the isipokuwa the first goal. Those two other goals, they were just useless. Now, for my final takeaway, what I can say is I don't feel anything tangible coming out of president. There is basically no goodwill from the Kenyan people. And when a leader there is no goodwill, first and foremost, he has to bring back the faith. And the first thing he did, he was always chest thumping. The other thing is he keep lying. He lies too much. So everything, even now, people are always seeing like he's still lying. You know, I don't know. So tuachie Mungu.
Thank you so much. And that was that was so interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining today's conversation. So let us meet tomorrow. We are still going to continue this conversation, looking into the impacts of the reshuffle and what is going to happen to Kenya in the near future. If you don't subscribe, kindly subscribe to our channel so that you can always be able to catch up with this kind of conversation and participate in it. Asanteni sana to our panelists today. Asanteni sana and to everyone who joined the show. Good night and good morning from